Hello, and thank you very much for joining me. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. We've got another of our segment of In the News with four companies to talk about today that had very good news out. We've gone through a pretty bearish seasonal period, which happens often in the late summer. And we can often see quite good responses after the Labor Day. And a lot of companies put out news after they get through the summer doldrums, and got a good batch to talk about today. One of the subjects that you'll hear me talk about is the Lassonde Curve. This is a very important thing for investors in the mining space to be aware of. Understanding where a company is in the Lassonde Curve is crucial and can make you a lot of money. One of those phases, I'm going to be talking about three key parts of the Lassonde Curve. One is the first wave, where you have exploration success. Then that's followed by the development discount window. And then the second wave, when you are bringing a project into production. And there's sort of two sweet spots that I like to focus on. One is it just before you make that big climb on exploration success. And then the other is the sweet spot just before you make the big climb on bringing a project into production. And I've got companies in both of those sweet spots. So let's get started with a screen share. And the first company I'm going to talk about is Dynasty Gold. Dynasty Gold is a sponsor of my shows. I am also a significant shareholder in the company. And what excites me about this project is that it is an orogenic gold system, not that far from Red Lake, Ontario. The big mines in Red Lake, Ontario are orogenic gold systems. What makes them special, the mines special in Red Lake, is that they're very high grade. There's a low cost of production, so they spin out a lot of free cash flow. And the company that was doing phenomenally well with that mine it was Corp. In the days that Rob McEwen was running it, it was one of the best performing gold mining stocks because they had such a low cost of production and high grades. Not too long ago, Rob McEwen did a significant financing in Dynasty Gold. And recently, the company has also brought Jim Rogers, who was one of the key geologists at the Red Lake mine, on to help with this project. So today they announced that Dynasty Gold returns 57 meters of 3.28 grams, 28 meters of 5.33 grams, 6 meters of 10.36 grams of gold, and 1.5 meters of 37.2 grams of gold at Thundercloud. This is the first three holes, and they are step outs from the spectacular holes that they hit in the fall 2022 program. One of the highlight holes from that, and I'm going to show you a cross section later and show you where all this stuff, how it all fits together, was a 3-meter intersection of 151 grams per ton of gold, and included in that was 1.5 meters of 246 grams per ton gold. So they've extended the high-grade mineralization from the fall 22 program into this summer 2023 program. And these initial holes indicate continuity of higher grade gold with intercepts up to 37.2 grams per ton gold. It is in the Archean, Manitoulin, Stormy Lakes greenstone belt, and the greenstone belts are important for orogenic gold systems. They are the right age of rocks for orogenic gold systems. and everything is pointing towards that being what they have found here. Here's the rundown on the highlights. Ivy Chong, who's the president and chief executive officer, stated, "This is a significant milestone in that the shallow higher grade mineralization has been extended by up to 100 meters to the east at Pelham. These high grade intersections include 3 meters each of 19.34 grams and 18.28 grams gold, and demonstrated the local continuity of the high grade intercepts from the 2023 discovery drill holes. We believe that the high grade mineralization is still open in all directions. Our follow-up drilling should test and confirm this potential." So here you can see 1.5 meters of 37 grams at 162 to 163 meters. The 3 meters of 18.28 at 184 to 187. And there was a 1.5 meter intersection of 31 grams at 186 to 187.5. Nice hit down here at 3 meters of close to 6 grams per ton of gold. Then this hole, this DP3 is quite interesting as well, because you've got a 6 meter intersection of 10 grams per ton of gold. So very good looking stuff. They give you a discussion of the drilling results, and this gives you some details as to the potential for an orogenic gold system, which, you know, it's got all the hallmarks of being that. Okay, so I'm just going to stop share here for a second and pull up this map here. Okay, so what this one shows you, I'm going to switch it over here so you can see it in the center of the page. So here you've got, this is TC 0702. This is a historic hole that was done by Teck, but it never had any follow-up to keep following it deeper. deeper. And what the company is using as a model to generate drill targets is they're looking for these historical holes by Teck, and then looking for geophysical anomalies associated with that. And that's what they're using to target. And it seems to be working really well, because the gold is associated with sulfides, and the geophysics is picking up the sulfides. And so when you know you have high grade, like this 1.5 meter intersection of 16 grams with some other good intersections in there, and you get the geophysical anomaly, that's what they were following up with. These are holes from the fall 2022 program. And look at here, you got 1.5 meters of 246 grams right in there, 12 meters at 38 grams, 28 meters at 19.57, 3 meters at 151. Now that's part of, the 3 meters is 151. Included in that is 1.5 meters at 246 grams of gold. Also interesting is the next hole over from that hit 1.5 meters and 9.5 grams. And down here, it hit 3 meters at 64.95 grams. Included in that was 9 meters, or that was part of 9 meters at 15 grams. And so, as you can see from this hole, the mineralization was open at the bottom of the hole. So you step over here to this next hole, 1.5 meters at 25 grams, 3 meters at 12.91. So as you can see, there's a good continuity developing here. Now I want you to pay attention to these holes, because the next group of holes comes in over here, and I've got a cross section for that. So I'm going to stop share for a second here and bring up the So this is from the new holes. This is, oh, yes, there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this down here so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so those other cross sections, here's TC 0702 again. And then that cross section I showed you was over in here. And now we step over and look at some of the grades we can see here. I'm going to make this larger so you can see it a little bit better. 28 meters at 5.33 grams. And included in that was 14 meters at 7.14 grams. Then you go over here to 2302, 3 meters at 5.91 grams. You step over here, another 30 meters, 1.5 meters at 37.2 grams, part of 3 meters at 19.4. And then you've got a 1.5 meter intersection at 31.6 grams per ton of gold. So as you can see, in the previous cross section, I showed you how we're seeing continuity of that high grade in this area, and now it's continuing as you keep stepping down, and the depth is wide open. So this is the making of a pretty spectacular discovery. The company is still somewhat under the radar, not under the radar of people like Rob McEwen, who's a big investor, or Jim Rogers, who knows these orogenic gold systems. But as far as the crowd of investors, I think there isn't a crowd yet. Company only has 61 million shares out. And what I think also wanted to point out is that, as I said at the beginning, I like to focus on the Lassonde curve and sort of understand where a company is in the Lassonde curve. And that first one where you see a lot of excitement, that first wave, is upon exploration success. And the company is in what you call the sweet spot of that curve. They're at the bottom of the curve, and they got a lot of blue sky ahead of them to climb up that wave. And based on these results, and based on the fact that they have a bunch more holes to announce, and also that the geophysics is working very well to help them target where to drill deeper. And recently I did an interview with Jim Rogers, and Jim explained why he thinks that the company needs to go deeper. And that is the model of these orogenic gold systems, that as you get deeper, you get into more coarse grain gold as you get closer to the heat engine. And what is equally as impressive about these results that are fairly close to surface is that they're not seeing visible gold yet, but already getting these very high grade hits. And at the top, that tells you that they're at the top of an orogenic gold system when you're not seeing the visible gold yet. So that's still to come. Jim Rogers is working on some new holes to drill to start getting deeper below these great hits that they've already had. And I think that the company is going to deliver a lot of great news. And as I said, they're in that sweet spot of the first wave of the Lassonde curve. All righty. So now I'm going to switch to the next company, and that is a company called Fokus Mining. And Fokus Mining is also in that sweet spot of the first wave when you're in exploration, up the wave of the exploration success. And Fokus Mining reported gold results on all its recent drill holes on the RB zone of the Galloway project. They said, pleased to announce the assay results from the 4th exploration program. They did 12 holes and 1,735 meters. This is right at surface, and they're getting 1.2 grams per ton of gold over 33 meters, 1.07 grams per ton over 42 meters, 1.02 grams over 28.5 meters. And they're planning on a new exploration drilling for this autumn of 2023. There's sort of two key targets in this area. One is close to surface or at surface, and the other is a high-grade discovery that they have. They announced that this was focused on that near surface stuff. They have two major new gold targets detected by high-resolution airborne magnetic survey on the Galloway project. It is located to the east of the GP gold zone, forms part of what the company considers to be a copper-gold porphyry system. Jean Rainville, who is the president and CEO of Fokus, stated, and I quote, "This recent program reinforces our view that the mineralized system could form a large mushroom typical of porphyry systems, with the entire system tilted to the west. Hendrick would form the head cap, and the RB areas the stipe or tube. We now need to define the direction of and the plunge of this gold-bearing tube." Then following on these results, ongoing activities, they're putting together a plan to do more drilling at the RB zone. They also want to get onto their Morris deposit area, because there is some very high grade in that Morris target. Several holes drilled in the direction have previously intersected high grades of 18.9 grams per ton of gold over 5.5 meters, 14.38 grams of gold over 6 meters, 59.51 grams of gold over 6.2 meters, and 5.09 grams of gold over 5.05 meters. Here's some other interceptions at Morris: 23.72, 46.96, 11.548 grams of gold, and all over nice intersections for the high grade. They want to drill that as well. John Rainville, President CEO, also added, and I quote, "Our results are increasing in line with our assumptions about the structure of the deposit. These four, albeit modest, campaigns on RB confirm our understanding of the deposit structure. The work planned for this autumn in both RB and Morris zones will focus on better defining the model, for which we have more and more knowledge and convincing results. It is with this in mind we are planning to raise appropriate funding for the situation." So then you get a rundown of the drill intersections there. So again, it looks like they have a gold copper porphyry at surface that looks like it can get very big. And then they also have a second target not too far away called Morris that's very high grade. I think that this company is at the sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve for exploration success. It's in Quebec, which is one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world. I think that near surface stuff is very promising grades as well, because a lot of gold mines these days are mining at 0.5 gram in these open pit targets. So you've got double that grade on a lot of hits here. And they're just starting to understand that porphyry, copper gold porphyry. And then they've got this high grade target as well. Collectively, these two target areas give them an exceptional chance to keep delivering great results, and yet the company has a very modest valuation. And I don't think that they're unique in that situation, as far as a lot of juniors are trading with very low valuations right now. And I think it's only a matter of time before we get a much more strong market for the junior mining stocks. And I think that will be generated by a higher price of gold and silver. And I think that's just right around the corner. And coming out of the summer doldrums, a lot of these stocks can pop quite significantly. And I think Fokus Mining has that chance. They are a sponsor of my shows. I've done interviews with Jean Rainville that you can find on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or also on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. Okay, so I just talked to you about two companies that are in the sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve, the wave that you see when you have exploration success, and the sweet spot is at the bottom of that wave. Now, the second big wave in the Lassonde Curve is the when you bring a project, you're in the latter days of the development discount window, and you bring a project into production. Now, the last sort of steps you need is the permitting. And Generation Mining receives approval to submit their closure plan permit. They are working very well with the local First Nations who are backing this project. It's a palladium and copper project that is not far from the town of Marathon, Ontario, and it's a beautiful situation to find a potential mine, because you're just literally right off the Trans-Canada Highway, in very close proximity to the town of Marathon. So you wouldn't need to build a little city outside to make a mine. You have a city right there to benefit. So they've got their closure plans, their assurances, their various different, they're well advanced. And Jamie Levy, who's the president and CEO of the company, said, and I quote, "We want to thank Chief Michano, the Big Tigong Band Council, and the BN leadership team members for their support and collaboration with our team on developing the closure plan. This is the conclusion of months of working together to define the social, environmental, and technical elements of the closure plan to achieve the land use envisioned for the property after mining concludes, including establishing a self-sustaining ecosystem, reestablishing access through the area for traditional land use, and providing future economic development opportunities. The closure plan reflects the significant amount of work undertaken by all parties to produce a plan that achieves the objectives of all the stakeholders." So they're ticking off the boxes for all the permits that they need to bring a mine into production here, and I believe that's exactly what they have. And they've also got financing from offtake agreements, and so they've got they're putting all their the story together to bring this into production. And so that's why I say that they're in the sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve, the second wave, when you bring a project into production. I think that they have a great palladium and copper project. The palladium is needed in catalytic converters to clean up the emissions of internal combustion engines. Then, of course, copper is important for the wave of the electric car revolution. And, you know, the market penetration of electric cars continues to grow and will continue to grow. But as we're sort of transitioning, you're still going to need a lot of platinum to use in internal combustion engines to clean up the emissions. So they've kind of got both sides of the automobile coin covered, and the industry needs more platinum and copper projects, or palladium and copper projects, sorry, and that's what these guys have, and they're moving towards building this permitting and then building a mine on this project. And you know, that's why I'm excited to see. I don't have, you know, I don't have enough companies that are in that sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve for the second wave when you are bringing a project into production. And that's not from a lack of looking. It is from a lack of enough projects in the pipeline that are at that stage. One of the companies that I was banging the drum on over the last few years was a company called Orla Mining. And I started covering them when they were about $1.50. And they were in the sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve. In fact, Pierre Lassonde was a big investor in the company. And now they've brought their project into production. It's producing very well. And now the stock is over $6 a share. So that's the kind of thing that you see when these companies move through that sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve in the second wave as you bring a project into production. And that's why I'm glad to have Generation Mining on as a sponsor. And I'm able to cover them very closely. As I said, I don't have enough companies in that sweet spot of the second phase of the second wave of the Lassonde Curve. Alrighty, HighGold Mining intersects 49.9 grams of gold over 2.2 meters in 50-meter step out at the Ellis Zone, which is part of the Johnson Tract Gold Project in Alaska. Now, earlier I was talking about the Lassonde Curve, and this is kind of a hybrid. They've got a project at their Ellis Zone that is in the sweet spot of the Lassonde Curve for exploration success. And as you can see here, 49.9 grams over 2.2 meters makes that Ellis Zone very exciting. But then they've also got a project that's moving down the development discount window called the Johnson. Their resource at the JD deposit, which is over 1 million ounces of indicated resource at 9.39 grams per ton of gold equivalent. But I believe that JT deposit still has a lot of exploration story to it, because I think it's still open as they go deeper. But today's news was about the Ellis Zone. And as you can see here, 2.2 grams or 2.2 meters of 57 grams in one hole, 1.1 meter of 80.5 grams in another hole. Darwin Green, who's the CEO of the company, stated, and I quote, "The Johnson Tract project is synonymous with high-grade gold, and these first results of our 2023 drill program do not disappoint. Hole DC 23-070 is a near-surface 50-meter step out to the west of the Ellis Zone and is the 8th intersection to date from the recent discovery to yield a grade thickness greater than 100 gram meters of gold equivalent. 2 drill rigs are currently active on site, focused on continued expansion of the Ellis Zone and the JT deposit, as well as exploring for new discoveries, end quote. So they're going to have a lot of news out. This is just the first drill results from their 2023 summer drill program. And as you can see, they're off to a really great start, finding some of that sweet high grade that I like to look for. Now, this section here helps you understand a little bit more about the project. This is the Ellis zone. And as you can see, there's a bunch of hits of very high grade in this zone. And now they stepped out from it and they're hitting more high grade. What's interesting is this seems to be part of a layer that goes into the mountain that you, well, you can see the start of the mountain here. So down here, you're at the bottom, and then it's a layer that seems to continue all the way to the other side of the mountain way over here. And now they keep hitting very handsome grades of gold in that as they expand out towards the into the mountain. So yeah, it's a pretty spectacular new zone. I mean, they had what was some of the big hits? 6.4 meters of 599 grams of gold equivalent. Over here, you got 36 meters at 5.1 grams gold equivalent, 42 meters at 5.4 grams per ton of gold, with high grades included in that. And now it seems to be moving out here as well. So really interesting project at Ellis. And I think that JT deposit can grow to be a 2 to 5 million ounce story as well. So, and yet HighGold mining has a very modest valuation. And again, they're not unique. There's a lot of junior mining companies that have modest valuations right now. And I would add that when I can find a lot of junior mining companies that are trading at very low valuations relative to the quality of their projects, that's often a time when it tells you that sentiment is poor, but it also tells you that, there's a pretty good chance that sentiment will get a lot better. I think the worst is over for that poor sentiment. And I think investors will be well rewarded to position themselves for better sentiment in the not too distant future. Alrighty, so there's 4 good companies with excellent results out. Later today, I got an exciting interview with Brian Lundin, who is he does his gold newsletter for many decades. And also is the guy who runs the New Orleans Mining Conference, investor conference. And we're going to be having a chat later today, but I wanted to get this in the news show out because we have a lot of really good news on companies out today. And I think more of those will come. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions, and do your homework. Bear in mind that I cover not only companies that sponsor my shows, but also companies that don't sponsor my shows. And my key bias, if you will, is that whether a company is a sponsor or not a sponsor, I want to be right. I'm no different than any other commentator in any sector who, forms an opinion on something and presents that to people. They don't do that because they want to be wrong. They do that because they want to be right. I base my decisions on my 30 years, or my opinions on my 30 years of experience in the exploration business. And I'm getting close to 20 years as a market commentator as well. So I've been around for a long time, and that's what I use to filter whether a company is a pick. as a non-sponsor or a pick as a sponsor. I mean to be a sort of the generator of ideas and an impetus for you to do your homework on these companies. I provide a lot of interviews with management that you can find on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or also on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. And ultimately, I think you want to increase your due diligence by going to these companies' websites, checking out their news releases, checking out their corporate presentations. And because I think that, a well-informed investor makes more logical investment decisions and avoids those emotional ones that are based on day-to-day fluctuations in the stock price. The best investors that I've seen in this sector, the mining sector, are those that base their decisions on the logic of what they see in the drilling and the developments, and take advantage of when the market is undervaluing things. And as I said earlier, I think there is a lot of that undervaluing going on right now, which suggests there's poor sentiment. But when you can find a lot of quality stories with suffering from poor sentiment, that's an indication that the market is on the verge of heading towards more bullish sentiment. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.